Welcome to the part 2 video where I discuss how Donald Trump already have won the elections on the August the 31st, 2016, and I'm talking about US presidential elections. That was proven to you in previous video in part 1. And as I already have started in part 1, issue how Obama is ousted from American politics and even world politics, I will now move on to Hillary Clinton issue, who is, by the way, completely failed candidate. And from there on, we're going to move forward to second Civil War situation, which is overly developing in the United States of America, and the Third World War issue, which in my personal opinion might take place even prior to the US elections, or I should say prior to second Civil War in the United States of America. As you see, today is the September the 13th, 2016, 55 days left to US elections. And I highly recommend this video to United States intelligence services, who, by the way, should take steps as recommended in this video. And I'm suggesting to people of United States of America that US intelligence services were completely aware of what I have declared to you on this very video. So they're not going to be able to blame something as we did not expect that something like this could happen, but it will rather give you American people the tool to use one against the people that are today on the top positions, such as the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, and other intelligence agencies that are within US government. Therefore, the right to act against people who are in intelligence positions, prominent positions, and against the people who are expected to protect and serve you, but have refused to do so even after the warning like the one right here in this video was issued. Let's get going. Totally failed, rejected, and ousted politician Barack Hussein Obama, rejected by domestic and international politics, or I should say community, replaced already by Mr. Donald Trump, got more humiliation, more diplomatic rejection, and it is United States of America that is paying for it all. After what I have indicated to you in previous video, Chinese G20 meeting, Laos is Eastern Asian Conference, Filipino president hits United States of America with withdrawal demand of US Special Forces from the Philippines. Now, folks, this have taken just a day ago, or I should say on September the 12th. If you think that Philippines are that they're not important to United States of America and Western world, you couldn't be more wrong about that. Philippines, in fact, is a major US and NATO ally in that part of the world, and now you're talking about part of the world that is extremely exposed to the World War III issues. China is making more and more demands daily. They want entire southern Chinese Sea. They have conflicts with US allies, Japan, South Korea, with entire area, and it smells on World War III more than just about anywhere else except Russian-Ukrainian situation, or I should say Crimea and eastern part of Ukraine, which Russians have invaded. So in that part of the world, to have an ally like that, it is actually extremely important. Mutual Defense Treaty was signed between US and Philippines in 1951 in Washington, D.C. Not only that, Philippines is a major non-NATO ally, okay? Philippines is, while Philippines Philippines are not in NATO. Philippines are right here, and then you have China, Australia, and that dangerous area right there where World War III is very, very quickly developing. Was admitted as a major non-NATO ally by George W. Bush in 2003. We have another part of the world where World War III is developing. We're talking about Iran. And let me tell you, Northern Korea, Iran, Russia, China, these nations are not acting in such a brazen way without having a very serious backup. You're talking about small Korea and you're talking about Iran. And they are not afraid of the conflict with the United States of America and with NATO. Okay? And they're not afraid of this conflict because they have a major superpowers behind them. They have China and they have Russia, and the two countries are actually preparing for the World War III, which never ever was more convenient for them than during the presidency of Obama. You can see right here that Iran is threatening the United States of America with shutting down US Navy planes that are patrolling Persian Gulf. This is news that was released on September the 13th of 2016. Crazier than crazy Obama news actually never stops. His failed diplomacy have first rejected the truth about how he have sent 400 million US dollars to Iran. It was for a ransom of captured Americans, few Americans, on what the news actually have stretched to $1.7 billion to Iran, all in cash. And it is now that people are actually guessing, since Obama is doing nothing else but lying all along, misrepresenting the facts, the truth, twisting it around, that Obama actually have sent $33 billion to Iran in gold payments. Now, I did suggest it to you that North Korea is more and more brazen every day. They have conducted very serious threats toward Japan and South Korea, and have just recently, on September the 10th, the news was released, pretty insane news, that North Korea have actually tested a nuclear warhead.
The rest of the world isn't and is far more concerned by this latest development. Pyongyang claiming that they have successfully tested a nuclear warhead and claiming...
Chinese G20 meeting ended exactly like this, when Obama was ambushed and facially challenged, provoked by Putin, suggesting him basically that the nuclear war will more likely than not, develop at just about any time. Not that it could, but as you are about to learn in continuation, it is just a matter of time when. A little bit more news about what is taking place right now, at this very moment, that most of you don't even pay attention to because you actually think it is somewhat irrelevant, it is not dangerous for whatever reason, or you know, due to your not understanding the seriousness of the situation itself. And this is exactly the US elections which is causing all this. You can see here, just one day ago, China, Russia set to stage military drills in South China Sea. Joint drills. I don't know how much you're acquainted with recent aggressive Chinese and drills and bullying in southern China Sea. I don't know how much do you know about it. Russia holds large-scale military drills in Crimea. Crimea is not as essential, or I should say, I'm going to show you this news here. Russia deployed divisions of troops about 50 miles from the US. This is just to cover up the truth. Okay, this is the kind of a news that is suggesting like, this is not realistic. Russia cannot invade the United States of America. Russia knows that if the World War III will explode, that it will not be about Crimea. Russia is completely aware of all this. And that's why Russia is doing very different, I'm going to say, psychological, strategic news. You see, this kind of news is used as if they are defending something, and they are not. In this point, at this point in time, Russia and China are getting ready for the World War III like never ever before. Do you remember the news about North Korea, Iran, the two small countries that are bullying, challenging the United States of America? Iran have just recently issued warning suggestions to the United States of America, NATO, that they are not afraid of military intervention of the United States of America or NATO. They're actually welcome the war with the United States of America. So they are not crazy. They're well aware of what the United States of America is. It is just that in this very situation, these countries are, I'm going to say, in an attack mode. No longer defense, but it's actually offense. They are getting ready. You see this? This is totally different news. Look at this. Russian jet, this one, comes 10 feet of US spy plane. Look at this. September the 7th, few days ago. Look, Russia is increasing military exercise in Near Eastern Europe. This is completely different news than the one I have talked about. So they're using one news to confuse intelligence services and Western public, as per they are preparing to defend something, and in fact it is not a defense anymore. This is not about the defense. This is about offense. They are getting ready for the World War III. What also mean military drills near Kiev is that probably Russia will continue with aggression toward Ukraine, because just as they have taken Ukraine under Obama's administration, you know, that much about Mr. Trump, who is blamed that he is the friend of Putin, when in fact it was under Obama that Ukraine was invaded by the Russians. And could very possibly, the way I see one of the scenarios could be that eastern part of Ukraine, which is still under the occupation of the Russians, could escalate. They could use that part of the world to further increase their pressure, or I should say scorn, for the NATO and United States of America, because obviously they have no respect for neither of the two. I'll tell you that much. And if the war would explode, which according to their opinion it will explode, they have basically nothing to lose. Strategically looking, the World War III, as I have suggested you, will happen. It is just a matter of time when it will happen, and it will happen because of the US elections, or in other words, because of Obama, because the weakness, the wicked, who have earned zero respect during his presidency, 8 years presidency, the presidency during which have brought US economy, domestic politics and international politics into a situation that have completely failed United States of America. Economy is failed. We are on the brink of the Civil War. And as a result of that, or as a weakness of that, the opportunity given to the enemy countries such as China and Russia in front of the World War III that might take place, as I have stated, even prior to the US elections. Because if the Civil War will explode, trust me, World War III will follow within minutes, within hours, perhaps days. But it will be there. 100%. It will be there. The United States of America never ever throughout entire history was as weak as it is today. It is now the first time in the history of the United States of America that internal enemy, Obama, could actually destroy United States of America entirely. For the first time, this country is facing at the same time and civil war and failed economy and the World War III because of no one else than the individual who is today placed and is stationed today, even today, he is inside of the White House, believe it or not. And I don't know how much you remember when I have stated that this could be one of the scenarios that could expand, their pressure on the West, on the Eastern Europe, on Europe in general. Continuation of invasion on Europe, which started with aggression on Crimea and eastern part of Ukraine. We're going to do this, we're going to push forward, and if you're going to react back, the only thing that's going to happen is what is going to happen anyways, the World War III. However, there is another scenario too. This does not have to be scenario, the 100% scenario. Another scenario, which is even more likely, would be the one that I already have suggested. That would be direct nuclear attack on United States of America and in Western Europe. Now, think about who you have today in the White House. Do you feel safe about that? I will now guide you step by step and will totally reveal you, show you what you were hidden, lied about throughout your childhood, school, education, and so on. But it is extremely important, and will show you how military strategists, intelligence services, how they operate, the psychology that they use, the approach toward conflict, which in this case will be World War III, make no mistake, and will rationalize you why preemptive strike, preemptive attack is the preferred choice for Russia and China, why this most likely will take place. Okay, I have suggested you how it is possibility that Crimea, which is taken over by Russians, eastern part of Ukraine that is taken by Russians, could increase, could expand toward the rest of the Europe. However, this exactly would not be exactly the most smart thing to do for the Russians, because they would, and Chinese, because they would get most likely strike. So it comes up front, the option that I have mentioned, the second option, that is much more viable, much more attractive for China and Russia, the preemptive strike against Western Europe and United States of America. This is how, and this is why the military strategists, Putin, China, this is basically how they see it. So I'm going to guide you now through psychology. I'm going to show you how it is done. It's got to do a lot with the stuff you were lied about. That's why you don't understand at all about what's going on. You were lied about the Second World War. I'm going to use the Second World War to give you a good example of it. I will rationalize you with a Second World War example, why this is going to happen this time, why this is the preferred option versus the option that I have mentioned to you, escalation of the Crimea and Eastern Ukraine conflict against the rest of the Europe. In one sentence, it is a preferred option. It is totally preferred option because both China and Russia are not as militarily advanced as NATO or United States of America, Britain, France, or I should say Western Europe. They are simply no match for American and for, I'm going to say, NATO military machine technology. They are far behind. They're nowhere close to as advanced as the NATO is. However, there is that thing that is known as the element of surprise, that somehow it's totally neglected right now. Okay, it's totally ignored due to the reasons that I have just stated, and it is a big mistake. It is a huge mistake that might cost us everything. Even it might turn into a real disaster. Exactly because, you see, because these two countries are totally in disadvantage when it comes to military technology, they would use, and they most likely will use, this element of surprise.
Америка великая держава, но сегодня, наверное, единственная супердержава.
Okay, but now, why would they do that? Okay, I'm going to explain to you why. Again, in one sentence, why they would do that. They would do that because the element of surprise gives you on the field, on the battlefield, the opportunity to strike the enemy and destroy the enemy that is actually much, much more advanced, with much greater numbers than you could otherwise accomplish. In this case, both Russia and China, as I have stated, are far, far lacking behind in technology. And technology today is the one that decides about completely everything, okay? It's everything about technology. It's no more about number of soldiers, and such stuff. It is all about technology. In this case, it is about the nuclear technology and other intercontinental weapons that are at disposal and can be used. And I have stated to you, I have mentioned to you the element of surprise. Well, there is such thing, okay, as weapons of surprise too. You know, we know about the nuclear arsenal that China and Russia have and so on, but still there might be certain weapons in Russia and China that otherwise would not stand chance against West, against the NATO. But if you would consider, or I should say initiate, the element of surprise, you could actually place to work. You could actually use those weapons and use them and exercise them against the enemy, against the NATO countries, against the West.
Потому что у нас есть такое оружие, которое легко преодолевает. Вот мы по этому пути пойдем. Но это никак не направлено против самих Соединенных Штатов.
So it would give you that preemptive strike, would actually give Russia and China the opportunity to use weapons that otherwise they could never ever use in the war. And this is what I'm afraid that West, NATO, is taking something for granted. They're taking for granted that their technology superiority versus Russia and China, and are actually are exposing themselves as a target. Because the element of surprise, you see, this is extremely, extremely dangerous element that you people simply do not understand, because you do not understand the history at all. Beside everything that I have mentioned, I'm gonna demonstrate you right now why is it that you're taking the situation more lightly, and this, it goes the same to intelligence services and military strategists and everybody else that are completely unaware about what is going on. Okay, I want you to see this here. This is Europe. Obviously, this is Europe. Okay, and this is Russia here. And I don't know how many of you know, but the European continent looks actually like this. This is the European continent. What you see white here, this is the European continent. And guess what? Guess what? It's this European continent that have decided about everything in this world. Okay, what you see here is the border. What you see here is the border between Western Europe and Russia, or I should say non-Russian part of Europe, because this is also eastern part of the Europe. However, let's say that what you see here on this side, this is the Russian part of Europe, and what you see here, this is the part that does not belong to Russia. Okay, this is the European continent. Again, I repeat to you, why am I making big deal out of this here? Okay, why am I doing this right now? Well, because I'm doing this, again, if you go to the map, this, what you see here, this is European continent, okay? And if I zoom to it, I'm gonna demonstrate you why am I doing this stuff, so you will understand. What you see here is highly populated area, and it goes on like this, and then it stops somewhere over here, okay? Look. Moscow and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on, and then there is nothing. You see this here? More you go east, the less it is. Look at this. I'm going to show you this here. It's all populated here. Okay? Moscow. You see that? Moscow, behind Moscow is still populated. And the further you go east, the smaller the towns, the cities become. And then at Ural, before the Ural, or Ural, I don't know how you say that in English, whatever. But it's all gone. Okay? It's all gone. It turns into a taiga. Taiga is a barren land, swamp, cold, icy cold, unbearable cold for the most part of the year. And you see this here, all this here is almost not unpopulated. Everything what you see here is non-essential for the Russia. What is essential for the Russia is this part here, the European part of the Russian territory, continental territory, whatever. This is what is essential. Okay, so why now again? Why am I telling you this kind of stuff? Why the hell am I doing this here? Okay, what you see here is a little tiny little Germany, and what you see here, you already have seen all this here, is Russia. It used to be USSR or Soviet Union. They also have this territory. They had this territory. They had this territory. They had all this here. Everything huge, enormous, tiny little Germany. Look, tiny little Germany. Look, see this here? Little Germany. If I zoom out, you can barely find it on the map. It's a little dot on the on the globe. Why am I telling you this? I have mentioned to you the element of surprise. You were light tremendously in the schools when you were told for the Second World War that Germans, you know, they were depicted like they had like superior technology, like they had more aircrafts, they had more tanks, they have more soldiers, and so on and so on and so on. I'll tell you what, it's all bullshit. It's a lie. It's a totally misleading stuff. World War II actually was based on element of surprise. And you know what the fact is? This is what's going to take you out right now. The fact is that when it comes to Soviets, to Russians, they had, when attack took place in June 1941, they had 26,000, almost 26,000 tanks. And those tanks, you know what? Those tanks were more, some of them were more advanced even than German tanks. You don't believe it? Go and research and do your homework. Okay? This is not all. It's even worse. Look, I want you to see this. Soviet Air Force had advantage. 19,000, almost 20,000 aircrafts. And because, you know what, this is the source from Wikipedia, and others are not any better because they don't really know what exactly took place in World War II. There's very few people that know about because they were lied about. And it's probably this right here, right now, that for the first time that you really will know the truth about the Second World War. 20,000 aircrafts and 26,000 tanks. Now, let's see what Germans had. Germans have had 4,400 aircrafts. 4,400 aircrafts. They didn't have nothing. And to make things even worse, only 2,600 were combat aircrafts. Are you getting the shock? Are you getting the shock? This is nothing yet. Look at this. All the Germans have had was 3,350 tanks. But things got even much worse. Look, the most advanced Soviet tanks were superior to the all German tanks. You see what I'm talking about? Things, however, were even much worse. Not even Adolf Hitler, the genius, the biggest genius in entire history of the humankind, did not expect that Russians have had 14 million soldiers when he sent on Eastern Front no more than 3 million German soldiers. I have mentioned to you 14 million soldiers versus 3 million soldiers. And you're talking about 3 million soldiers on enemy territory and 14 million soldiers in basically well-known territory, homeland. You know, you were not told about about this stuff. Do you know why? Because they didn't want you to know two things. They didn't want you to know the understanding of what really have happened during the World War II. They didn't want you to know that they have misrepresented you the facts with lies, per how it was for the military superiority and so on, that Germans have almost taken over entire Russia, when in fact it was for the superiority of the German people versus Russians that the 3 million soldiers would defeat what you see here. You see this here? All this, everything that you see here, within 3 months. Within 3 months, this is what had happened, but it is what you were not told about. You see this here? This is a map, and it looks like this. This is a Leningrad, today known as a St. Petersburg. Here's the Moscow, and here is Volgograd, St. Petersburg, Moscow, and Stalingrad, now known as Volgograd. Fact is that Germans have taken pretty much the whole Russian part of the European continent. This is the fact, and this happened, how I should say, have taken place within less than just 3 months. This is the definition of blitzkrieg, the element of surprise, and what also I did mention to you previously, that Hitler was a genius. I mean, this guy did not excel. You know, once you excel at one thing, you pretty much excel at everything. He pretty much was great in just about everything. I don't really see what he was not capable of excelling others with. The element of surprise was based on German hearts. I mean, this genius have spent about 50 years doing nothing else but building conscience inside of the German people, the self-recognition for who and what really they were and are. He created them out of nothing. The Germany was destroyed. It was ruined. It was in a recession. It was zeroed. It was nulled after the First World War. It was a colony. Nothing more than French, British colony. Country was on its knees entirely. And this is what Hitler have done. And yeah, of course, it's not convenient for obvious reasons to recognize the truth. But it was not the weapons, the numbers that have defeated Russians. It really were German people. Inconvenient truth. I apologize for that. But we are discussing other issues right now. I just mentioned this. And look, St. Petersburg, Moscow, Volgograd. You see this here? All this used to be part of USSR before. All this here, all this Germans have taken over. It was finito. The Russian part located on European continent was finished. You know this here? Moscow, 1941. This area of European continent was practically uninhabited. Not even close to as developed as it is today. So if this here would have fallen down, which it did not because of America, it would be really, really, really easy to take over the whole thing for the Germans. They practically have won the Second World War. Germans have fought war not on one front, not on two fronts, but on many, many, many fronts. They have fought alone war against the entire world. There were other countries also that were involved, now known as Axis countries. Italy, for instance, was also involved in it. However, Italy capitulated. The only country that lasted till the Second World War was Japan. Germany, a small dot on the global map against the whole world, against the United States of America, France, Britain, and so on, Russia, the whole world. And it took the whole world no less than 5 years to take one finally down. Inconvenient truth based on element of surprise. I just want you to understand how dangerous the element of surprise is. If Russia and China are greatly disadvanced in military technology, they might have a weapon that will probably just used prior to what otherwise would be a military conflict, a military, world, declared as, as World War III. Before you would hear somebody that, oh, today we have started a World War III, That's just not going to happen, folks. You are setting yourself up for surprise. During the Second World War, the Moscow, the main city of Russia, if Moscow would fell, it would be completely game over. And the same was with Stalingrad and so on. The German army stopped about 30 kilometers away. They were 30 kilometers from Moscow, and that's about 18 miles, 20 miles from Moscow. This is what element of surprise can do. This is what the element of surprise have done. Considering the situation in the White House in America, the chaos, the Civil War situation that is knocking on the door for the second time in American history, do Russians and Chinese, actually you should ask yourself, do they have any other option left? Is there any other option that is viable to them? Since they're not anywhere even near as advanced militarily as the NATO countries are. That's why I said it is just a matter of time when this is going to take. Please, please take Obama out of the White House as fast as you can do. Like I have stated, Iran suggesting how they welcome war with America, and North Korea testing, small North Korea testing a nuclear weapon and stuff like that. Man, that's not the same news like, let's say, Russia is suggesting they're going to place troops over there close to Alaska, or how they are fortifying troops in Crimea. Come on. We all know that's not essential. We all know that doesn't make any sense. We all freaking know that the war, the nuclear war, takes away completely the importance of Crimea and possibility of Russian invasion on America, which is completely unrealistic. Okay? However, the stuff that I have mentioned to you, well, think about that. If you were in Putin's boots, how would you react to that? Everything that you have seen, that I have shown you, have taken place recently. Such a scorn for American diplomacy, rejection, total derision for NATO, taking in consideration totally unhealthy approach of the U.S. government, or I should say CIA, corrupt Congress toward U.S. election in 2016. Man, that just opens the windows of the opportunity for the preemptive strike from China and Russia. Now, when you think that you already know a lot, let's get going, because I tell you what, you still don't know quite a lot about it. And now consider this fact. What would happen in America if there would be such thing as, you know, if preemptive strike attack on West would take place tomorrow and Obama would be in the White House like he is, and he would call upon defense of the country. What do you think would happen in America? Do you think American people would say, thank you, Mr. President, we're here to serve and protect our country? I mean, please ask yourself, what would American people consider? Protecting what? For whom? Or I should rather say, from whom? You get the point? Do you think American people would welcome to enlist themselves into services for the country when you would have somebody like Obama who is actually pushing forward with Syria, a civil war? Do you think so? Ask yourself, America, can you really afford to have Obama today in the White House? Like I have stated, situation was never ever more convenient for China and Russia than it is very today. It is actually really easy. I'm gonna zoom for you. This is a Washington, D.C. There is a White House, you see this here, right here, and there's a Supreme Court right here. All you have to do, look, 2 miles. All you have to do is arrest, impeach, and trial. Look, right here. You're gonna save yourself a lot of problems. And when you do that, at the same time, do the same with the head people of the CIA and FBI, because they are running the country towards civil war, as I will be talking to you about. What my opinion is on Putin. Okay, I will give you what my opinion or my take is on Putin. After everything I already have talked about is taking place in this video. His profile, if I would psychologically evaluate this individual, fits to a profile of the lunatic. It fits to the profile of crazy man, madman, maniac, psychopath, suicidal maniac, who have taken down not only himself on March 2014 when he invaded Crimea and eastern part of Ukraine, but manages to somehow drags down with him also his own Russian people. It seems like that nobody in Russia can stand up against this individual because his opposition somehow disappears always. They either get bullets like Boris Nemtsov got, or they are simply imprisoned, like Navalny, for instance, got imprisoned. So there is no such thing as opposition. But as I have stated, it is amazing that majority of the Russian people still blindishly follows this lunatic to the end of the world, pretty much. After invading Crimea, eastern part of Ukraine also, Putin proceeded with exactly what you see right here. He proceeded with a terror because Russia is actually right now a terrorist state, no different from ISIS or Al-Qaeda or whatever is out there. I don't see how I could not recognize this as a terrorism, since this lunatic have launched nuclear bombers from Russia all the way to heart of the Europe, London, center of the Britain. You know how many million people live in London alone? These are his little toys, these nuclear bombers. And he then proceeded to terrorize Europe also with his nuclear submarines, which have passed right through the channel here, next few miles from London, from the center of the London basically. He did the same trick with United States of America when his nuclear planes would repeatedly violate US airspace. He approached even to Australia with the nuclear submarines. Navy have threatened to Sweden, threatened to Norway. He launched missiles from submarines off the Norwegian coast. You're talking about constant terror over there in Baltic. This is not, this is exactly what is not what this crazy terrorist claims the case is with the world today, because after everything I have stated to you right here and proven in this video, this crazy man is insisting that there is no such thing any longer as balance of the nuclear powers. And he is suggesting that global security is violated due to American presence, or I should say missile presence in Europe, which Americans have installed anti-nuclear missiles in Romania, Poland, and is suggesting how this have shifted powers now and is placing himself, he would like the world to see him basically as a victim. Yeah, I don't see how this logic could possibly work for me, since what he claims was security that lasted for global security that lasted for 70 years. That's what he refers to as. He claims there was a balance and there were no violations for 70 years. But now, since Americans have installed this in Romania and Poland, everything is different and dangerous. But he somehow fails to, or I should say forgets, when he is claiming this, that he was the one who have violated this, according to him, global security that lasted for decades, with the war, or I should say invasion, on Crimea and eastern part of Ukraine. So his logic, you see, that there was a nuclear balance somehow does not work for me at all. It doesn't make any sense to me, and it makes sense to you. You must be fucking stupid. At surprise, my surprise, his propaganda, Russian propaganda machine is very efficient. And there are idiots in a right-wing movement that I would not name at this opportunity, who actually see Putin as a great leader, as a defender of the freedom, and have adapted his logic. They believe and they support his views, his terrorism, because this is what this is, and would like to promote his cause. They would like you also to see basically what he have to say in this very video and what I already have explained.
Danger. Once we were discussing with our American partners, they had this idea of creating ballistic non-nuclear ballistic missiles. And we told them, do you realize what it's going to be? You'll have missiles launched from submarines, ballistic missiles launched from submarines or other sites. Now we track the launch. We don't know if it carries a nuclear...
How is it going to be? We pretty much know, Mr. Putin, because you have demonstrated to us with nuclear submarines and with the nuclear bombers how that would look like after you have invaded eastern part of Ukraine and Crimea. Yes, I totally understand your points.
warhead or a non-nuclear one. Do you realize the kind of threat you would pose? To the best of our knowledge, this program has not been implemented in the long run, but we don't know whether there could be other programs like that. We don't know where all of this will take us, but we as Russia will be obliged, will be forced to provide a response, and we know already that we will be.
He will provide the response, okay, after aggression, after engaging in a terrorism, as I have explained here. He would like you to see him as someone or a Russia that will actually act in a self-defense.
Be accused by media, by mass media, will be accused of aggressive moves. But it's important for us not just to protect ourselves, but to ensure.
Of course, that he did not invade Crimea, of course, that he did not took down eastern part of Ukraine, and of course that he is a victim. After all, he never have engaged in a terrorism against United States, Western Europe, and other countries. Of course not. This is, of course, it's all in my head.
The strategic balance in the world, and I would like to finish with what I started. It was the strategic balance that used to guarantee and ensure peace in the world and secured against large-scale, full-blown wars for 7 years by now. And maybe it wasn't perfect, but it did ensure global peace for decades. How you can disrupt it in a blink, I just don't believe that this could be serious.
I don't know what the fuck is wrong with this guy. I think he is completely delusional. I know that his propaganda machine is working very well in the United States and throughout Europe. Like I said, idiotic right-wingers. I am a right-winger, but I will never ever support, a Russian terrorist. I'm never ever gonna do that. I'm not that crazy. And I don't know how that is actually acceptable for anybody that is normal, but it is working, and he see in it as an opportunity, and he see in it as, like I have previously suggested, the opportunity to exercise the preemptive strike on United States of America, Western Europe, and claim that it was the Russia who was attacked, because for whatever reason that is out there, there are people who have adopted that kind of logic. So, and of course, for everything media is going to be guilty of, okay, they will be the one that will blame Russia for what he refers to defending itself from evil West. And he will go down together with Russia, with his Russian people, as heroes. They will be remembered in the history as the nation, the last nation that have disappeared from the face of earth, but with a heroic way. In a heroic way, they will disappear, obviously. And this is how Mr. Putin would like to be remembered as, and that's how he would like also to see his Russian people, his Russian nation, to be remembered as a brave nation that went down together with his, well, crazier than crazy leader is how I pretty much see it, like I have stated. Somewhere throughout this video, it's mentioned that quote from Putin that he does not know with what weapons World War III will be fought with, but that World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. And that's pretty much where he is taking his Russian people to. He is taking them to back to sticks, and he's taking them back to stones. So I don't know what else could I possibly think about this individual other than what I have just stated here. I would also note that this individual is actually so insane that the journalists that are surrounding him, they're smiling at him. You see, they move their heads like they agree with him and stuff. He does not realize how crazy actually he is. I don't know, is it sickness? I don't know what it is. Maybe he is so delusioned, self-delusioned. Maybe he lives in such an delusion that he believes his own lies. I don't really know what it is, but he is extremely, extremely dangerous man. He could not be more dangerous than what he is. One thing these politicians do have in common is, I'm talking about Vladimir Putin and Obama, pretty much is the same. He is just as crazy as Vladimir Putin. Between the two, I don't really know which one of the two is more sick, mentally sick. Both of them live in worlds of their own. They live in worlds in a total delusion, apart from reality. They're totally detached from reality, and both of them would like the world around them to perceive the reality as according to what these two individuals see their own lies as, because the two actually believe to their own lies. This is how crazy the two are. So the two have a lot in common, and Obama used to live in a world like this as well, no longer, because the reality kicked in now. Well, yeah, I don't know how much you guys remember, but Obama used to be very dismissive toward Mr. Trump. He would laugh at Mr. Trump. He was really sarcastic about it. He tried to scorn Mr. Trump, but no longer, not anymore. This was recorded on September the 14th, 2016. Or I should say released, and this is very today when I am creating this video.
So my most important message is we cannot take this election for granted. And let me just make a comment about that, because look, I'm not running this time, but I sure do get frustrated with the way this campaign is coming. I'm just telling the truth. Guys in the back, I'm just telling you the truth about how I feel about this.
Have you paid attention to his He is almost ready to cry. He is almost ready to fall down. He is very much aware of what was the historic day that I have explained, known as the August the 31st, 2016 in previous video. Make no mistake, Obama knows that by far preferred US presidential candidate for 2016 is nobody else than Donald Trump. America already have decided. He is completely aware about what the situation is, more than ever was. And that is what is actually really dangerous about Obama now. He is dangerous now more than he ever was. What you're about to see was recorded on February 2009.
Tonight, I want every American to know this. We will rebuild. We will recover, and the United States of America will emerge stronger than before.
What you're about to see have taken place in South Korea in 2012. It's about over 4 years ago. And it was thanks to stupidity, Obama and Medvedev's stupidity. The two assumed that the microphones were off, so they have engaged in a private conversation. My concern goes a little bit beyond what you are about to see and hear here.